Millionaire falls in love with a poor girl. What happens next will melt your heart. The sun was merciless over the Applewood Farmers Market, a quiet little town nestled in Oregon. The heat pressed down on everything and everyone. Beneath a faded green tarp, Emma Rivera was carefully polishing rows of ripe mangoes, lining them up perfectly on her stand. She took great pride in her imported fruit stall, especially the mangoes, which held the taste of childhood memories. "Sweetest mangoes in the whole state, sweeter than your first heartbreak," she quipped playfully, flashing a confident smile to a passerby. Suddenly, a pair of shiny black leather shoes came to a stop right in front of her stand. A tall man in a crisp white shirt, navy blue blazer, and dark sunglasses looked around, seemingly lost. As he turned, his arm accidentally clipped the edge of the wooden crate. In one loud crash, mangoes spilled everywhere, rolling onto the pavement. "Oh my gosh!" Emma exclaimed, standing up abruptly. She couldn't hide the frustration as she watched her fruit tumble across the hot concrete. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." "Really?" the man said quickly, removing his sunglasses. There was a hint of panic in his eyes. Emma glared at him while crouching down to collect the mangoes. "You think a simple sorry is going to cut it? Do you have any idea how far I ship these mangoes from? Florida, mister." That man was Nathan Cole, a celebrated interior architect and CEO. But right at that moment, in Emma's eyes, he was just a clumsy stranger who ruined her hard-earned work. Several of the mangoes were bruised. Emma quietly picked them up, inspecting each one before setting them aside. She didn't say much, but it was obvious. She was holding back a storm. Nathan stood awkwardly, hands in his pockets, eyes darting like a kid who just flunked a test. "I really am sorry," he repeated, this time softer. "I'll pay for the ones that got damaged." Emma looked up sharply, her gaze icy. "Do you think money makes everything okay?" Nathan hesitated. "No, I didn't mean it like that. I just thought it's the right thing to do." She crossed her arms. "So you fix things by shoving money into my hand like I'm some kind of beggar?" "No, that's not what I meant," he started, but Emma cut him off. "Do you have any idea how much sweat I pour into this stand every single morning? Those mangoes aren't just fruit. They're my livelihood. They pay for my little brother's school. They're all I've got." Nathan swallowed hard. The woman in front of him clearly wasn't someone swayed by a thick wallet or smooth apologies. She had principles, and he just stomped all over them. "So, what can I do to make this right?" he asked sincerely. Emma stared at him for a beat, then said, "You can start by walking away. I don't have time to babysit some fancy guy who wandered into the wrong part of town." "Modest?" Nathan blinked, surprised to be dismissed so bluntly. No one had ever spoken to him like that. "You don't have to be this upset. And you don't have to pretend to be polite," she snapped, her tone firm as stone. "I don't sell self-respect, sir. Even if you paid 10 times more, the way you messed up my day is not something I need." The air between them tightened like a drawn bow. Vendors nearby began to glance in their direction. Nathan suddenly felt like a stranger in a place full of grounded, real people. "All right, I'll go," he sighed, pulling out a crisp $100 bill and placing it on the table. "Even if you won't take it, I still want to make things right." Emma immediately picked it up and shoved it back into his hand. "Keep it. Maybe you'll need it to buy back your pride." Nathan stood there a moment longer before turning and walking away. As he left the market, he looked back at the modest fruit stand. Emma had already returned to her work, smiling brightly at a new customer as if nothing had happened. He didn't know why, but he found her fascinating. And for the first time in a long while, someone, a tiny fruit vendor, had rejected his money without flinching. He smiled faintly. "Who is she?" The question lingered, even as Emma's cheerful voice echoed behind him, calling out to new customers with sunshine in her voice. 2 days passed, and Emma didn't think much about the strange man who had spilled her mangoes. To her, he was just another passerby, clumsy, wealthy, and out of touch. But on Thursday morning, as she laid out her tarp and stacked a new crate of mangoes, a familiar voice called out, "Still selling those sweeter-than-your-first-love mangoes?" Emma looked up. It was him, Nathan Cole. No blazer, no sunglasses. Today, he wore a simple gray t-shirt, jeans, and a baseball cap. Less polished, more human. But the same face, confident with a hint of awkwardness. She raised a brow. "I sell mangoes, not storylines for bored rich guys." Nathan chuckled. "Relax. I'm not here to apologize again. I'm here to buy mangoes. 1 kilo. "Do you even know how to pick them?" she asked, arms crossed. "No, but maybe you could teach me." She rolled her eyes. "Figures?" Still, she grabbed a paper bag and began picking. Her hands moved with ease as she continued. "Why are you really here? Applewood isn't exactly a tourist hotspot." Nathan was honest. "I'm working on a project nearby. A kind of countryside retreat meets modern design thing. Saw this market on the map." Emma didn't reply. She handed him the bag of mangoes. He paid and smiled. "Thanks. No mango casualties this time." The next morning he came back, and the morning after that. At first, Emma was suspicious. Then she found it funny. A guy from Portland driving nearly an hour just to buy mangoes? "Ever heard of a supermarket in Portland?" she asked on the 4th day. Nathan laughed. "Sure, but none of them come with a mango expert like you." For the first time, Emma laughed. Just a soft one, but real. And for the first time, she let him linger a bit longer. Day by day, they talked more. About fruit, about the market, about the city. Nathan shared that he once dreamed of opening a bookstore, but got pulled into architecture by family expectations. Emma spoke of her younger brother, Julian, and how she's raised him alone since their mom passed when she was 16. "So you're the sister, the mom, maybe even the grandma?" Nathan teased. Emma grinned. "Exactly. I can bake cookies and yell about chores, too." With each conversation, Nathan found Emma not only witty and sharp, but resilient. And though Emma wouldn't say it, she felt something different, too. He wasn't like the men she'd known. He didn't pretend to be perfect. He didn't mind crouching to pick up fruit. He didn't look at her as just a vendor, but as a person. One quiet afternoon, with only a few customers around, Emma looked at Nathan and asked, "Do you actually like mangoes?" Nathan smiled. "Not really, but I'm getting addicted to being asked if I know how to pick them every morning." Emma pretended not to smile, but her cheeks flushed, just enough for Nathan to notice. Emma never expected someone like Nathan to keep coming back. But he did, every morning, on time, buying mangoes, cracking jokes, sometimes staying to help restock when things got busy. She remained guarded, but somehow her heart had started to soften. One Monday morning, as Emma was weighing fruit for an elderly lady, Nathan showed up earlier than usual. He carried a cup of hot coffee and a peanut butter sandwich. "For you?" he said, placing it gently on the table. Emma looked surprised. "What's this?" "You don't eat breakfast. You just scold customers and wipe mangoes." "That's cardio," she replied, but took the sandwich. They laughed together. Applewood was small, but social media was not. That evening, while scrolling through her phone, a post popped up. Nathan Cole, young CEO of Cole & Gray Design, honored at the Portland Business Awards. Beneath it, a photo. Nathan in a tuxedo, smiling confidently among Portland's business elites. Emma froze. She clicked into the company profile. Everything spilled out like ice water. Nathan was the founder of one of Portland's top interior architecture firms. Multi-million-dollar projects, featured in regional Forbes, heir to one of Oregon's prominent families. And he bought mangoes every morning, pretending to be just a customer. The next morning, Emma said nothing when Nathan arrived. He smiled, handed her coffee, but her eyes were colder than usual. "Something wrong?" he asked. Emma set down the mango bag. "Be honest. Who are you?" Nathan paused. "What?" "Don't play dumb. I know. CEO of Cole & Gray, Forbes, Mr. Millionaire architect." He exhaled. "So, you found out." She stared into his eyes. "Then why? Why hide it?" Nathan was silent for a few seconds. "Because I didn't want you to know." "You're kidding me." "No, I was afraid if you knew who I really was, you'd look at me differently. I wanted you to know. Me. Just me. But you're not just you." "I wanted to be, with you at least." Emma stepped back. "So what was all this? Some twisted social experiment?" "No, never. Every time I came here I felt real." She laughed dryly. "You're not the first rich guy who's come to a farmer's market looking to feel real, Nathan, but you know what? We don't need saving." Nathan stepped closer. "I'm not trying to save anyone. I just wanted to be close to you." "And you thought I'd be okay discovering that the man I've been talking to every morning has been lying about everything?" "I didn't lie. I just wasn't brave enough to tell it sooner." Emma shook her head, voice tight. "You chose to hide it. You let me believe you were someone else. Meanwhile, you stood in million-dollar rooms with award plaques on the wall. And you think I wouldn't feel betrayed?" She turned away. "I've lost enough people in my life to know when someone isn't honest." Nathan was quiet. No words could erase the look in Emma's eyes, cold, distant, and hurt. He left a bag of mangoes on the table. For the first time, no smile, no coffee. Just a man standing still in a quiet market, while a woman turned her back, walking away into her stall without saying another word. 3 days had passed since Emma found out the truth about Nathan. Since then, he hadn't returned to the market. And though Emma never said it aloud, part of her kept waiting for that familiar shadow to appear by the fruit stand. She didn't know if she was angry, hurt, or missing him. On a chilly Friday afternoon, with gray skies and wind brushing through the trees, Emma was stacking the last few mangoes when a pearl-white luxury car pulled up to the curb. A woman stepped out, tall, elegant, long brown hair, oversized sunglasses shielding most of her face. She walked like the world was a runway built just for her. "Excuse me," a sharp, clear voice rang out. "Are you Emma Rivera?" Emma looked up, cautious. "Who's asking?" The woman removed her sunglasses. "I'm Sabrina Lewis, Nathan's ex, or rather, former fiancée." A cold chill ran down Emma's spine. "Oh." That was all she said, turning back to adjust her stand as if nothing had happened. "You're calm," Sabrina said with a smirk. "I just wanted to see who was worth Nathan throwing everything away for to slum it in a farmer's market." Emma kept her voice neutral. "If you're here for mangoes, feel free to choose a type. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by." "You know," Sabrina tilted her head, "you have interesting eyes. So, innocent. But trust me, innocence alone won't keep a man like Nathan." Emma clenched her fists behind her back, holding herself together. We were the perfect match. Family, status, education. And you? You sell fruit. "And you sell illusions?" Emma said, soft but sharp. Sabrina laughed, though her eyes remained ice cold. "You don't get it. Nathan belongs to a different world, one you'll always be a stranger to. Believe me, sooner or later, he'll remember that." "Thanks for the warning," Emma said, giving a polite nod. "But I think the one who walked away probably already knew she didn't belong." Sabrina paused, just for a second, then turned without another word and headed back to her car. As the vehicle disappeared, Emma slumped onto her wooden stool. She had held herself together, but now her hands trembled just a little. Every word Sabrina spoke echoed in her head, like steel scraping against stone. Cold, hard, and true. Nathan could drop millions on a whim. Emma counted change. Nathan walked red carpets. Emma walked cracked pavement. Sabrina wasn't wrong. Emma didn't belong in that world. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She lay staring at the ceiling, her hand clutching a ripe mango, like maybe, just maybe, it held an answer. In her heart, everything Nathan had done, returning, smiling, talking, might have been real. But was love really enough? The next day, Emma didn't open her stall. She sent a quick message to a friend nearby, asking them to watch over it, saying she wasn't feeling well. But the truth was, she was tired somewhere deeper, in her mind, in her heart, weighed down by thoughts of everything separating her and Nathan, so wide, so far, it felt impossible to bridge. Julian, her younger brother, noticed something was off. "Are you okay?" he asked, as he saw Emma staring out the window, a mango in her hand untouched. Emma offered a weak smile. "Just thinking." "About the mango guy?" Julian asked innocently. She didn't answer, just watched her little brother growing taller by the day and sighed. Love, she thought, could be beautiful. But duty, past, and distance weren't always easy to overcome. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Nathan Cole was standing in front of the biggest decision of his life. And this time, he wasn't planning to run. That weekend, the main office of Cole & Gray in downtown Portland felt like it had frozen over. In an emergency board meeting with shareholders and family members, Nathan stood tall in the center of the brightly lit room. The uncertainty was gone from his face. He had heard enough about damaging the brand, ruining your future, and how a fruit vendor is not your equal. "Enough," Nathan said, voice calm but firm. "If you won't separate me from the payroll, I'll separate myself from this company." Silence. "Excuse me?" One of the lead investors blinked. "If this company only thrives by making me someone I'm not, then I don't belong here anymore. I'm resigning, stepping down from operations, and if needed, I'll walk away from my shares too." "Tea?" His mother stood, her voice shaking. "All for a girl from the market?" "No," he replied, "because I don't want to live one more day hiding who I really am." Less than 48 hours later, Nathan showed up at the Applewood Market, not in a suit or a luxury car, but in rolled-up sleeves, worn jeans, and an awkward smile. Emma whispered to the vendor next to her, "He's back again." But this time, Nathan didn't come to buy mangoes. He stood a few feet away from her stall, raising a hand like a schoolboy waiting his turn. "I'm here for a job." Emma blinked. "You what?" "Helper. No pay needed. I can wipe tables, sort fruit, shoo flies, maybe even carry crates. I haven't dropped any mangoes since day one." She wasn't sure if he was joking, but his eyes were steady, sincere. "Up to you," Nathan added, "but I'll stand here every day until you let me work." For the first time in her life, Emma watched a Forbes-featured CEO wipe down her fruit table with a rough towel, smiling wide even when veggie water splashed on his shirt. At first, the others looked at him warily. But soon, Nathan began earning their trust, helping an old lady carry apples, giving piggyback rides to a sleepy kid, washing a vendor's bike in the rain. A week later, he was Uncle Nate of the market. "Didn't think those hands could actually work," the bread lady commented. "Cute smile, and he's good with flies," the fish vendor giggled. Emma kept her distance. Not cold, but not close either. Whenever she saw him polishing mangoes, she'd only say, "Don't bruise the skins. People buy with their eyes first." Nathan grinned. "Don't worry, I can tell Florida mangoes from Mexican ones now." She didn't laugh, but her cheeks turned the softest shade of pink. One sunny afternoon, Nathan handed her a perfectly ripe mango, placing it gently in her palm. Underneath, a folded note read, in slightly messy handwriting, "I choose you. whether in this market or in the city. Emma stared at it for a long moment, and for the first time in days, she looked him in the eye and softly said, "Clean the table. A customer's coming." Since the day Nathan started working at the market, Emma saw him there, on time, every day, patient and quiet. He no longer brought coffee or cracked jokes. Instead, he wiped tables, cleared trash, arranged fruit exactly the way she taught him. She said, "Don't stack the ripe ones on the bottom." He remembered. She said, "The cart leans left, it's stuck." He fixed it. No complaints, no grand gestures, just presence. And somehow, that quiet consistency began to chip away at Emma's walls. She found herself watching him a little longer, handing him a water bottle when the sun got too hot, reminding him not to skip lunch. Small things, but maybe the start of something rebuilding. Nathan didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't push her to talk. He let her choose, and that, more than anything, made her heart begin to soften. Turns out, love isn't always about big promises. Sometimes it's about who stays, when they have every reason to walk away. After nearly 2 quiet weeks at the market, Nathan had become part of its daily rhythm, no longer the undercover CEO, but just Nate, or the Mango Guy, as everyone fondly called him. Emma started noticing the little things, how he always arrived a few minutes before her to set up the tarp, how he adjusted tilted mango baskets without being asked, and how he smiled, soft, no longer rushed. One late afternoon, with most of the customers gone, Emma sat on her usual wooden stool. Nathan was rearranging fruit crates, his shirt stained, sweat marking his shoulders. She watched him quietly, then softly asked, "You once said you wanted to open a bookstore?" Nathan looked up, a bit surprised. "Yeah, since college. I dreamed of a little shop by the river, old wooden shelves, worn armchairs, and a small cafe in the back." Emma smiled. "Sounds like a peaceful life." "And you?" he asked. She hesitated, then answered honestly. "I want a small house, a kitchen, a garden, and a porch where Julian can do his homework. Somewhere quiet, where no one has to chase anything or anyone." Nathan didn't interrupt. He just listened, fully, attentively. "Growing up," Emma continued, "I got used to people leaving. My dad, then my mom. They all left. So I taught myself not to need anyone. But one day I thought, if someone ever stayed, I'd show them what real living looks like." She looked directly at him. "And you stayed." He didn't speak, just nodded. His eyes held something real, not flashy love, but a quiet promise. Emma took a deep breath. "So, if you still want to buy mangoes every morning, I won't overcharge you anymore." Nathan laughed. "Is that your way of giving me a chance?" "No," she said, the corner of her lips lifting. "It's my way of giving both of us a chance." In that moment, beneath the silver glow of the tarp in the late afternoon sun, something shifted, not loudly, not dramatically. Just 2 people, starting again from where everything almost ended. From that day on, Emma and Nathan didn't need labels. They weren't dating, they weren't official. But every glance, every accidental brush of hands, every smile exchanged over perfectly ripe mangoes said something had quietly restarted, slowly but surely. People at the market noticed too. The bread lady teased, "These mangoes taste like love today?" Emma blushed, and Nathan just grinned without denying it. Beneath the soft morning sun of Applewood, they were no longer just the fruit vendor and the city man. They were 2 people choosing to stay, knowing full well that the world beyond might not make it easy. And then one day, Nathan took Emma's hand and walked with her, out of the market, into the spotlight of a high-profile event in Portland. That's when the real storm began. It was the annual Cole & Gray Corporate Gala, an event filled with Portland's most powerful investors, media, high-profile clients. Golden lights, Sparkling wine and designer gowns made it feel more like a royal affair. Everyone wondered, who would Nathan Cole bring tonight? The answer stirred the entire room. Nathan walked in hand, with a woman whose hair was neatly tied back, wearing a modest olive green dress and flat shoes, nothing like the diamonds and stilettos around her. That woman was Emma, the fruit vendor from Applewood who didn't belong to this world, yet held the hand of the man who owned the room. All eyes turned, whispers spread quickly. Who is she? His girlfriend? She looks like the help? Fruit must be selling real well these days. Emma heard it all. She stood tall, smiling faintly, but Nathan squeezed her hand tighter, as if to say, I'm right here, and I'm not letting go. When Nathan stepped up to the podium, silence swept the crowd. Cameras turned. The spotlight hit his face, calm but resolute. He scanned the room, paused, and then spoke. I know some of you are wondering about the woman standing beside me tonight. Her name is Emma. She's not a celebrity. She doesn't work in this industry. She's not from a high-profile family. She sells fruit at the Applewood market. Murmurs softened. And if anyone here thinks that makes her unworthy, I have only one thing to say. Nathan looked straight into the camera. If loving her is wrong, I don't want to be right. Silence. Then slow, scattered applause. Emma stood below, gripping her hands tightly, eyes glassy. She never asked him to say those words, but he did, not to defend her, but to honor what they had. But the public didn't stay quiet. By morning, the internet was buzzing with criticism. Is the CEO blind? She's clearly using him? Fake fairy tale alert. Emma read every line, each word cutting deep. She wasn't afraid of hate. She was afraid Nathan would suffer for loving her. That night, he came to her fruit stand, just like always. Emma didn't smile, didn't speak. He understood. You're worried? Nathan asked. She nodded. For you? He replied calmly. I spent my whole life being the right man, in the right room, doing the right thing. But that wasn't living. And me? She asked. You're the first thing in my life that's ever felt real. Emma lowered her head. Her heart ached, but it was full. Because in a world full of noise, the only truth she needed was standing right in front of her. After that evening, the gossip didn't stop. But Emma was no longer afraid, because every day Nathan still showed up at the market, on time, helping her arrange mangoes, wiping down old wooden tables with the quiet patience of a man who had never lived simply, but was willing to learn everything anew, just to stay beside the woman he loved. And then, one early spring morning, just as the season's first mangoes filled her stall, Nathan placed a ring beside the ripest fruit. No dramatic proposal, no flowers, no candles, just him looking into her eyes and saying, I don't want to be someone who just passes through your life. I want to stay in it for good. Emma didn't answer right away, but she took his hand and held it tight. Her answer wasn't in words, but in the way her eyes softened, like the golden sunset over Applewood. A wedding was coming, not in a five-star ballroom, but right in the middle of a little market, where everything began. As news of Nathan's upcoming wedding to the Mango Girl began to spread, not everyone was celebrating. 3 days before the ceremony, an email landed in the inboxes of Cole & Gray's board members and local media outlets. The sender, Sabrina Lewis, Nathan's former fiancée. In the message, Sabrina declared her intent to file a lawsuit, accusing Nathan of breaching a prior marital contract agreement and damaging the company's brand and strategic relationships. Attached were photos, voice recordings, and personal accusations aimed squarely at Emma. Online, things exploded. Investors threatened legal action. Headlines screamed, "Sweet love or strategic scandal." Ex-fiancé drops bomb before CEO's wedding. Emma was stunned. She didn't cry or scream. She just quietly packed away her fruit stand. That night, she sent Nathan a short message. "I don't want you to lose anything else because of me." Nathan showed up that night. He found her sitting alone in the darkened stall, surrounded by crates of unsold mangoes. She didn't look at him, just whispered, "Maybe we should stop. I don't want you dragged into this anymore." Nathan stepped forward, sat across from her. The street light cast a soft glow on his face, tired but unwavering. "You think I'd choose the company? My name? A few angry shareholders?" Emma said nothing. He reached out, took her hand, held it firmly. "I can lose everything, except you." One sentence, simple, not dramatic, but it held everything together when the world tried to tear them apart. She looked at him, and for the first time since it all began, the tears fell. Not from pain, but because, finally, someone chose her. That morning, the Applewood market buzzed with quiet excitement. People whispered, smiles passed between stalls, though no one said anything aloud. Still, every eye kept glancing toward Emma's fruit stand, now adorned with fresh flowers, a clean tablecloth, and a perfectly arranged basket of golden mangoes. Emma stepped out like any other morning, her usual button-up shirt, her hair tied back. But her heart beat faster than usual. She felt something was waiting. Then Nathan arrived. No suit, no stage, just Nathan in a simple shirt holding a basket of mangoes. He gently set the basket down, lifted the lid like unveiling a quiet miracle. Inside were golden mangoes, and nestled among them on a red velvet cloth. A small, shining ring. The market went silent. Nathan looked at Emma, his eyes soft, nervous, hopeful. "I met you through mangoes, and I've learned how to love through your simplicity. And if you'll let me, I want to love you like that, every day for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" Emma couldn't speak. In the place where everything began, surrounded by the people who had seen them grow from strangers to something more. She was being asked to be loved, simply and fully. She nodded. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for his, pulling him into a quiet embrace. Applause erupted through the market. The vegetable lady wiped her eyes. The bread seller shouted, "Say yes quick, or she'll change her mind." Emma just smiled, because for the first time in her life, she knew exactly where she belonged, and with whom. There was no red carpet, no grand ballroom. But that morning at Applewood Market, every stall and corner lit up like a true celebration. Everyone came together to help. The bread lady baked a wedding cake by hand, soft, sweet, and perfect. The vegetable vendor set up a canopy, using ropes and old tarps. The flower seller rolled in a cart full of daisies, sunflowers, and white chrysanthemums to decorate the path. Music played from an old speaker brought by the man who sold records. Can't help falling in love, drifting through the morning air with nostalgic warmth. Emma stepped out from her own stall, not in a white gown, but in a cream linen dress sewn from an old tablecloth. Her hair was loosely tied, tucked with fresh flowers. Nathan stood waiting in the middle of the market, right where they'd first met, where mangoes once tumbled to the ground. As Emma approached, the whole market grew silent. No pastor, no formal ceremony. Just two people standing before each other, with the breeze around them and the scent of ripe mangoes filling the air. Nathan looked into Emma's eyes, full of feeling. I've stood in rooms lit by chandeliers, surrounded by titles and power. But nowhere ever felt like home the way this market does. Because you're here. Today, I won't make grand promises. I'll simply promise. Every morning, I'll wipe tables, arrange mangoes, and love you like it's the first day. Emma's voice trembled, her eyes wet. I used to think love was far away, meant for luckier people. But you came, quietly like the wind, and stayed, like a roof over me on sunny days. I don't need wealth. I just need you, right here, every day. As they exchanged rings, applause roared like a wave. Julian ran up, hugged his sister, and shouted, "My sister's married!" Mangoes were passed around, replacing wedding cake. Homemade apple cider poured into paper cups, raised in cheer. And in that moment, in a little market, surrounded by fruit and honest laughter, love needed no more proof. It was already complete, just by being real. A year after the wedding, the once humble fruit stall in the corner of Applewood Market had blossomed into a cozy little shop filled with color, scent, and laughter. Its name, Fruits and Love by Emma and Nate. No modern counters, no air conditioning, no luxury shelves. But every detail carried the warmth of sincerity. Inside, the fruits were sorted with care, each mango labeled with a handwritten note. Choose with your heart, not just your eyes. On the exposed brick wall hung a wooden sign carved by hand. Fruit may be seasonal, but love is forever. That line was more than a motto, it was a vow. Nathan was no longer the Millionaire CEO. He now carried crates every morning, wiped counters each afternoon, and kissed his wife whenever he could. Emma was still Emma, gentle, meticulous, but now she smiled more, and maybe pushed customers a little less. Then, one crisp autumn morning, just as the new batch of Mexican mangoes hit the shelf, the market buzzed with joyful news. Emma had given birth to twins, a girl and a boy. The entire market came to visit. Some brought milk, some oranges, some handmade blankets. The bread lady cried when she was named godmother. Julian stood proud and declared, "Guess I'm an uncle now." The twins were named Mila and Noah, symbols of grace and strength, just like their parents. In the soft afternoon light, as regulars laughed and ripe fruit filled the air, Emma looked at Nathan cradling their children and whispered, "Who would have thought one spilled mango could lead to forever?" Nathan laughed. "Better stock more mangoes, might get another pair." They smiled at each other, knowing that happiness wasn't found in grand things, but in the very place where love was planted with patience and blossomed through truth.